Hello and welcome back to the YouTube channel for the Renaissance English History Podcast. Today we are talking about a woman who had a claim to the throne that would rankle Elizabeth I and James I. She didn't just kind of go off into the sunset. She got married in secret to another person who had another claim to the throne. They were in prison. She escaped from prison, and she is Arbella Stuart. She's somebody that we don't hear an awful lot about, but she is a fascinating woman. And I think after having researched for this shorter YouTube video, I want to do a really deep dive, especially into her escape in a podcast episode in the future. So if you would like that, let me know in the comments after you listen to this. If you want to know more, let me know in the comments and I will work that into my podcast schedule. So, if you are new here, very special, warm welcome to you. My name is Heather, and I have been podcasting on Tudor England since 2009. This channel is where I put all of my podcast episodes from all my different shows, as well as lots of extra content like this here video right here. I have to tell you, I'm a little bit damp. I don't know if it comes through because a thunderstorm just rolled in. I had to bring the cat in. The cat was outside and it was just pouring. I don't know if you can see, it's like all over my back. Anyway, I didn't want to not do this video because like I had my time blocked out. And if I don't do this now, then it goes into like the future time. And so I wanted to do this, but I am a little damp. So here I am and we're just rolling with it. We're just rolling with it. So, Arbella Stuart, she was a woman who, like I said, came from nobility. And the first thing I'm going to do is talk to you about her family tree and where she comes from, because she was the daughter of Charles Stuart and Elizabeth Cavendish. Okay, so who's Charles Stuart? Charles Stuart was the brother of Henry Stuart, Lord Darnley. They were both sons of Lady Margaret Douglas. Lady Margaret Douglas was the granddaughter of Henry VII through Margaret Tudor, who had married into Scotland. So we have Henry VII has Margaret Tudor. She has Lady Margaret Douglas. She has Charles Stuart, among other children, including Henry Stuart. And Charles Stuart has Arbella. So Arbella is the great granddaughter of Henry VII. See, I had to like write this all down so I could keep it straight. And then on her mother's side, Elizabeth Cavendish was the daughter of Bess of Hardwicke and Sir William Cavendish. Bess of Hardwicke is an amazing story. She's a woman who came from kind of minor gentry and wound up becoming the second wealthiest woman in England through a series of advantageous marriages where she kind of pressed for her rights. Very inspiring woman in a lot of ways. She kind of orchestrated this match between her daughter, Elizabeth, into the nobility, and it was a big deal at the time. And then they had Arbella. One other thing about Elizabeth, her godmother was Catherine Grey. I did a video just like the other day on Catherine Grey, who was a sister of Lady Jane Grey. So her godmother was Catherine Grey. And then later, Arbella would marry William Seymour, who was the grandson of Catherine Grey. See, so it all just kind of goes around in a circle. So, Arbella, she's raised by her grandmother, Bess of Hardwicke, largely. Her parents had died when she was young. So, Bess of Hardwicke brought her up, and she lived a pretty sheltered and secluded existence, even though Bess was plotting almost to put her on the crown. Bess knew she had a good claim to the throne. Elizabeth didn't have any children. So, Bess is like, well, there's Arbella. She's right here. Look at her. She's smart. She's pretty. There we go. But then in 1603, when Elizabeth dies, James I becomes the king and Arbella is passed over. It wasn't just Bess, I should say, who was pushing for this. There were plenty of other people who were interested in Arbella as a queen. There were plenty of people who liked the idea of somebody in England as opposed to somebody from Scotland coming. And so she was a pretty high up there claimant, right up there with James. But the nobles chose James, Elizabeth chose James, and so Arbella was passed over. There actually was a plot to put her on the throne, and she was invited to write to Philip of Spain and ask for support from him. She declined that invitation, more power to her. And at the time, she showed herself to be a very loyal subject. But these rumors about her as a potential claimant kind of stuck around. Those early years of James's reign where there was the gunpowder plot. It wasn't all rosy. for him. And so there were always these rumors of maybe Arbella would be a good choice. And she always put them off and stayed loyal. But then she did something that wasn't the smartest move. She married Sir William Seymour. He was the grandson, like I said, of Catherine Grey, who herself was the granddaughter of Mary Tudor, who had married Charles Brandon. So you've got both of these people who have potential claims because, of course, Mary was a daughter of Henry VII as well. So you've got both of these great great grandchildren of Henry VII marrying each other. And this was too much for James to bear. He was just like, this is not good. So they married early in the summer of 1610. And he found out about it by July, and he put William in the Tower and he put Bess under house arrest. Now, William was still having an opportunity to go visit her. The security in the Tower, especially if you were noble and had money and could bribe your way out, it wasn't all that impressive. And so he could get out and see her. After a couple of months, word gets back to James, to King James, and he finds out that this is still going on. And he's like, like this needs to stop. And so he actually sent Arbella, or planned to send Arbella up north. He asked the Bishop of Durham to come down and get her and take her up north, where she wouldn't be able to see William. She would be away from court, all the rumors, all of that. Now, the thing is, Arbella, she played sick. She said she was very, very sick. The first night they were going to stop in Barnet, which, personal share, when I first moved to England, the first place I lived was a flat share in Barnet, end of the Northern Line. Took forever to get to work. But that's a side thing. So she was going to stay in Barnet, and that was going to be the first stop. But she didn't even make it to Barnet. She was just so sick, talking about how horrible she felt. And they stopped in Highgate. I also lived in Highgate for a while. So see, this is like she was touring the places where her would live. Because it all comes back to me in the end, right? All right. So they stopped in Highgate. And she said she was super, super sick, couldn't go on. They're writing back and forth to council. The people who are her chaperones, who are supposed to have her in custody, are saying, what are we going to do with her? And eventually council says, okay, she can have some time to rest. And they did make it onto Barnet. She was given a little cottage. The person who was her custodian thought she was faking it, actually brought a doctor in to check on her. And the doctor said, no, she really is sick. She's very weak and very feeble, and she had a very low pulse. So she's given a month to rest. And then she pleads that she's still sick, given another month. During that time, she is planning what she's going to do and how she's going to escape. Her maid kind of worked with her and her aunt, Mary Talbot, to set something up. And her aunt gathered money for her, gathered men's clothing, and delivered a package to her maid with men's clothing. So she actually dressed up as a man. She was incredibly weak as she made her escape, and they didn't think she was going to be able to ride all the way to the river to London, but she made it. And there they were going to meet William, who was set to escape from the Tower. So then William escapes from the Tower. There was some drama. Ships had to be bribed, this whole thing. William escapes from the Tower, and they go off and they have this escape. And they were hoping to maybe get to France and live out the rest of their days. King James finds out about the escape, freaks out, says that anybody who assists them, who works with them, is a traitor. Mary Talbot is arrested. Lots of people are questioned. Of course, they chased her boat. They found out where she was, and she was captured and brought back to the Tower. And she actually lived the rest of her life in the Tower. She pleaded for forgiveness from James, and he never gave any mercy to her. She actually died 5 years later. She was about 40 when she died. Now, the thing is, William was actually on a separate boat. William was going separately, and he made it to the continent. She never said where her husband was. I'm not sure whether she actually even knew. She said she didn't know. William stayed on the continent. And then after several years, he requested permission to come back to England. He was granted that permission. He would remarry and he would go on to have children and be back at court. But Arbella sadly died in prison in the Tower of London. It was a very sad end to this woman's life. She was born to be a noble woman. She had a claim to the throne, but she made this marriage and she tried to escape, and James wasn't going to be okay with that. So she wound up dying in prison. It's a very, very sad story. But that is Arbella Stuart. If you want to know more about her, let me know in the comments and I will do a deep dive podcast episode, like I said, into her. I'll work that into my podcast schedule and we will talk much more deeply about Arbella. Fascinating woman. So thank you so much for watching. There are so many YouTube videos you could have watched and you chose to watch this one. I hope I earned your subscription to my channel and a press of that like button. It helps me grow the channel and reach more people. And anyway, who doesn't want their YouTube algorithm Tudorfied? Am I right? Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.